Alright guys, we're back with Interview with Sensei, and we have gotten past our 30th episode, which is pretty exciting. So stick around, we plan on doing something really cool when we get to 50, right? About 50. So stay tuned. When we get to 50, you're not going to want to miss it. Also, if you guys are really tuning into this and enjoying these videos that we're doing, hit the subscribe button. You hit this button, and it'll go right to your email or your Facebook. You know, whatever you decide for it to go to, it will notify you when we put up a new video.
Yeah, that's how YouTube works. I'm new to this whole thing. I mean, we've been putting out videos for a little while, but we're actually educating ourselves and trying to become more professional.
We're getting there. We're learning all this.
So check out that button right there.
Subscribe. We need that. Yeah. All right. So in any case, today's topic is debaters. What's your take on the people who come to you and debate some situations or some videos that we've done? What is the main deal with these debaters?
Yeah, I've had a lot of trouble with them over the years. And what's interesting is that it's often motivated by their personality, not motivated by the topic at hand. I've had people debate, and then during their debate they'll switch sides, and they'll take my side and continue to argue as if I should then switch to their side and start arguing. It's a very, very strange thing. Like one time I was arguing with this person who was talking about my Tanto Jutsu video. I threw up, we just did a couple techniques, a couple knife techniques at some point. Here's a clip. Or a link. We'll do a link. There's a link. Link's good. There's a link. Well, here's a link. Here's a link. Because we know how to do that now. So there's the Tanto Jutsu link, right? And what it was you know, he's looking at this video and he's saying, oh, you know, you guys obviously don't know what you're doing, and da 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 da. And I said, why do you? I was interested. I said, why do you feel that that we don't know what we're doing? I actually rarely hear that. That's never happened to me before. Most people either like it or they don't, but nobody's ever said, you don't know what you're doing. So this guy starts in on me. He says, yeah, because you killed the guy in the first move. I said, no, I'm aware of that. He says, but you then killed him 3 more times. Yep, I'm aware of that too. Actually, in that technique, I killed him 5 times, but yeah, who's counting?
Well, you teach us overkill.
Overkill. That's what it's about. I mean, yes, this is intended to stop that man, but who's to say it will? So you need to train to kill him 6, 7 times, prepare to do that, and then should you need to, you just destroy the guy, annihilate the guy. You could always be nicer. That's what I'm saying. I've always said this. You know, if you're training to be nice and then you need to step it up a notch, good luck, because that's not how you're trained. If you're trained to be ruthless, then you can always be nicer. You could, you know, I could, and you could always be nicer. So this guy's debating, and I'm going back and forth, and finally I just said, do you mind if I ask you a question? Like, where are you trained that you feel that you can come at me like this? He says, well, I'm going to begin my training soon. And I said, what?
So he hadn't even been training.
What? And then he's this kid in Australia, and I said, I was like amazed by this, and then I said, how old are you? Said, I'm 23 or something. Said, wow, I've been doing martial arts a lot longer than you've been on the planet, and I'm debating with you proper technique, and you don't do martial arts. Well, my sensei, wait. You mean who your sensei will be? It's just nonsense. It's just so this problem, and it's difficult. You know, my wife says that I'm too ready and willing to jump into drama, and I think that she's right. I think she's right. You know, over the years, I said, oh, come on, sweetheart, that's not true. I said, I hate drama. You know, I said, but the reason why, you know, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and this person's debating me, and they would like my say, and so I'm willing to give them my time, and I'm willing to, but you know what? Don't. I mean,
waste of time.
It is. I've been on the planet long enough to see the folly of my ways, and I used to do that. I used to. Now half the time I just tell them that they have a good point, even if I mean, I've had guys write me things that do not make any sense.
Mm.
I mean, you've read.
I just saw one of those, and yeah, it definitely did not make any sense what this person wrote.
But I just acknowledge them for their efforts.
Like, they didn't even know how to use the spell check.
That's
like,
all right. Hey, I can't spell worth a crap. You know.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, can't knock a man for not being able to spell. Come on.
Yeah, but if you're gonna debate, at least know how to use the spell check.
It would be nice if he had the correct word choice so that I knew what he was talking about.
Right, so you can get a clear understanding of what he's actually debating about.
But that's one of my points. That's one of my points, though, is that it really doesn't have to do with the debate.
You're right.
Because even this like Australian kid, before I knew he was a kid, he started jumping back, like he was, you know, arguing, and then he said, you know, if you were a real warrior, you would train not for self-defense, you would train to off somebody. And I'm like, first of all, you know, why are you trying to tell me my business? Secondly, that's what you had a problem with.
Right, in the first place.
That I was trained to off somebody multiple ways.
Right.
You know?
What do you mean?
Like,
that's what I am doing.
Yes, you can't argue both sides. You know, but that's...
Pick a side if you're going to debate.
But that's just it. And I've been there where, you know, it really has nothing to do with what's right, what's wrong. It just has to do with, you know, ego stepping in. I want to flex my muscles. I want to show you that I'm intelligent. So I'm going to spend some time debating you. I want to be heard. You know, you're a big name. You know, I've so many times. Oh, I got a story. Story
time.
Okay. Jamie Ellaby Sensei, you remember this story. And I love you, man. He's not only a friend, he's a fan of this show. He just talked to me a little while ago on the phone. He called me up and he said, I make all my students at the dojo watch your show.
You are the bomb.
Yeah.
You are the bomb, Ellaby Sensei.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes.
Enjoy.
So he remembers this. We went up to he was living in Maryland at the time, so I went up to do a seminar. This was years ago. This is, I don't know, going back 5 years maybe longer, maybe 7 years. I have no concept of time. It was a while back, and after the seminar, the guy comes up to me. He says, "This guy, he's posing as he's this master of martial arts," and he says, "You know, the techniques that you do were derived from Daito-ryu." And I said, "Well, yes, that's one of the places that they were derived from." And Sokaku Makame, and I'm like, what? Sokaku Makame was the founder of Daito-ryu. I was like, do you mean Sokaku Takeda? And he was like, oh, yeah, maybe that's how you pronounce his name. Anyway. Anyway.
That really happened?
Oh yeah. Anyway, he studied kendo for many years, and I'm like, what? Kendo? Yes. And derived all of his techniques from kendo. I was like, no. He came from the Izugumi. He came from his tribe was always involved in the samurai arts, and he migrated. I was like, he would never. No, he hated modern martial arts. He didn't train in kendo. Kenjutsu he trained in, and I said, Onaha Ito-ryu Kenjutsu. And his techniques were not derived from his Kenjutsu training. They were derived from his classical Bujutsu training. All things are derived from the sword. Many samurai practitioners could say that, but what this person was saying was just inaccurate. But he knew. He knew because his Aikido teacher told him that, is what ended up coming out, but I don't believe anybody told him that. I think he was just debating because nobody knew their history, and he was able to tell people and school people in the past because nobody knows their history. Mm. When he came to me, it got heated to the point where I was like, listen, pal, you know, you're just speaking lies, and you're trying to educate people, and you're telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. I.W.S. Sensei ended up grabbing, he had a big binder of all of his notes, and he was like, let me show you the history of it, come here. And he opened up this binder, and he was like, look, this is the period in which this art came from, you know, and this is where it came from, this is where it stemmed from. after hearing all this and after being subjected to the truth, this went, no. And he just continued to debate. What we did, how we owned him in the conversation, was we just started speaking our jargon. Martial artists, classically trained martial artists have jargon. So we started speaking classical Japanese terminology and stating that this was this and this was this. He had no leg to stand on because he just didn't know what he was talking about. I believe, this is a strange thing, but since then, I believe that because of the problem with human beings, believing that they are equal, as your niche, okay? Like, I'm not gonna come to you, Brian, and try to school you on piano lessons. It's just, let me tell you about music.
Yeah.
It just
or Sensei, that lock is a little incorrect. Let me correct that for you.
Right, it's just
these people that do that just baffle me.
It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, and I believe that that's why jargon came about, because we could explain things easily, but instead we developed terms that people within the field understand. I mean, who needs to call it a hematoma? Why the hell did everybody will get blood clot? Everybody will get that. There's blood underneath the skin. Everybody. Hematoma.
It's the word of the day.
That's it means that you got dented. That's what it means.
I'm a hematola, yo. I'm gonna put a hematola in that.
Oh, it's hematoma.
Oh, hematoma.
Yeah, that's like, right?
That's crazy.
You got dented. That's all you'd have to say. But I believe that this jargon exists in everyone's field, because I've been on the job when guys pretend to know about masonry, and we start throwing terms out, and some of it's silly, like duck butter. That's a silly term.
What's duck butter?
Duck butter is made from. It's when you need to glue things together. So what you do is you take
duck butter.
Yeah, it's weird. It's something that you make. So you take glue basically, and you mix it with cement when it's in its powder form, and you mix it up. You can use it almost looks like Elmer's glue, and you mix in cement and you mix it up, and you add a little bit of water, and it makes it super sticky, and it's duck butter. If you want to set a stone, anyway, it's used in certain applications. But the point is that you wouldn't know that, and we want you to not know that, because when you're a mason, a stonemason, you got guys who think just because they found rocks in the ground, they're a stonemason. Oh, I can pick up rocks and put them together with cement. I'm a stonemason. No, you're not. You don't know what you're doing. And it's the same in every field.
So these terms you use now to filter out the
weed them out.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about it's every field. And if I went to you and I tried to talk to you about music, you could just mention a term.
Yeah, arpeggios.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
I used to have a pager.
That's when you hit each note in a row, and it's like a domino effect.